Hello, Lifetime Fitness students. We're going to discuss today one of the units that I wanted to get to before we prematurely got let out of school. This would have been much easier as a hands-on unit with me there, but I actually think it's going to be something useful for you now that you're quarantined and you have some time to yourself. And I kind of just want to show you how to do it. Some of the concepts in this unit are kind of esoteric. They're kind of hard to describe. I'm gonna do my best to flummox my way through them. Some of these I don't describe quite as well as I should, so bear with me. This is an exceptionally hard unit to make, and it's even harder to teach to you. But I'm gonna do the best I can, and hopefully you guys will find something useful out of it. And I really encourage you to try this. So by the end, at the very end, I'll tell you exactly how to do it, and you can have any questions or whatever we can talk about in an in-person meeting. This will only be video one of two. I want to do one on meditation. I want to do one on yoga, and that will be pretty much your only required um, watching besides whatever in-home workout you guys are getting in your spare time. So I again only teach what I know. I only know one form of meditation amongst the however many there are. There's lots of different ways to do it. I'm going to give you my way to do it, and you can add or subtract whatever you want. You can research your own way to do it, and hopefully this works for you and gives you a little bit of peace and tranquility. So let's get started on meditation. So basically, it's just a practice where you use a technique. In our case, we're going to use mindfulness, being aware of the present, and focusing our mind on activity, which in our case is breathing, to train our brains to be aware and clear. So we're looking for a calm and stable mental state where we can just let our emotions come and pass without disturbing our thought. So meditation has a long history, goes way back to India, 5,000 years. BCE is basically the new way of saying like before Christ or before Jesus' birthday. They've seen artwork of people doing meditation postures. Way back in India, there's a tradition of teacher and disciple where teachers would, go out in the woods and meditate under a tree and live a very ascetic, barren lifestyle, and then people would come to them to learn techniques of meditation and what they would do, kind of in their spiritual journey. During this time, the way to meditate was always passed down orally, meaning it was passed down by word of mouth. Nothing was really written down at the time. China and Buddhist India got a hold of meditation and started to incorporate that into their religion or their belief system. Neither Taoism or Buddhism is, actually like a religion. Some people call it that, but it's not really. And then when the Japanese got a hold of it, they further um, refined the practice and added a bunch of stuff to it. And Japan, where they uh, finding first meditation halls in about the 7th century AC or after Christ. So about 700 AD, I'm sorry. They were having meditation halls. And the techniques kept coming in from China to Japan. And Japan kind of formalized the kind of meditation that we're going to be studying, which is Zen meditation. This guy down here, Dogen, he was kind of the guy that kind of started the Zen movement. So there's a bunch of different types of meditation. I'm going to list 6 for you. I don't know a lot about some of these, but mindfulness meditation, we actually incorporate into our type of meditation. And that's basically training your mind to be fully present in the moment and letting your thoughts kind of drift in and out of your head and not being overly reactive to what's going on around you and being very tranquil with your mind. There's transcendental meditation, which is basically where you chant a mantra, repeat it in a specific way. This is where the whole stereotypical, monk sitting there chanting Om, Om. You're supposed to transcend something. I don't know about it, so I'm not going to talk much about it. I don't know very much about this one either. It's a very popular one, Vipassana. It's a type of meditation from India. So if you want to research that, you can. I don't know anything about it. Guided meditation is where you have someone basically walking you through it, giving you the things that you should visualize, um, suggesting how to pay attention to the smells and sounds, using his voice to calm you, and basically doing whatever he says to get you to that space. Loving kindness meditation, don't know anything about that, but that's basically where you are concentrating on the wellness of others, trying to spread kindness to the universe. And yoga, which is actually a form of meditation. Like I said, we'll have hopefully do a yoga unit, and you'll use some of these same techniques that we talk about here. So the balancing and concentrating on your physical poses lets you focus less on distractions and more on what's going on at this uh, present moment, which is also being mindful. You'll hear the term mindful quite a bit. It's a kind of a new buzzword. A lot of people are discovering it, but it is a core of Zen and Buddhism. So some yoga poses. You can see if you're doing something like the pose on the right, you don't really have time to worry about what you're doing next or thinking about your laundry. You're worried about holding that and trying to catch your breath because that looks extremely difficult. So there's two schools of meditation. In case you're wondering about the history, and I'm just going to put them out there. There's a Soto school and the Rinzai school. There's only a little bit difference between the two. The Soto school is where you meditate with no objects and you're just concentrating on your thoughts and how to let them arise and pass without your interference. The Rinzai school does things a little different. They study koans along with their thing, which is our little side note. A koan is something a teacher gives a disciple, and it's a story or a question or statement which is used by the teacher to test the student's progress. And this koan is usually nonsensical. And it's not so much that you need a good answer, it's just how you deal with the stress of the question and how you meditated on it and how it enlightens you. The most famous koan, the most well-known nonsensical paradoxical question is, what is the sound of one hand clapping? So teachers would give this question to students, and their students' response to this question would kind of illuminate the teacher on how far his progress in Zen has come. Again, don't know a lot about it, just a little interesting thing for you. So Zen Buddhism, again, not really a religion, but some of the components of the Zen way of meditating are the serenity of your mind, so steadying it and concentrating your mind to focus on one thing. And that serenity and tranquility will lead to insight, which is where you are able to see exactly how your mind works, what your preconceptions about things are, how you think about things, and really a way to dig into questioning how you look at the world. Some people say, well, the concept, to meditate, you need to become enlightened in nirvana and it's peaceful, blah, blah, blah. And Dogen, the guy that's kind of the Zen guy, like the Zen godfather, he says, hey, just practicing meditation is enlightenment. So some concepts of Zen and Zen meditation. So you want to develop serenity of mind. So bring it to where you're focused, but your mind can still work. Like you can still have thoughts, which is what pliant means. You're firm but bendable in your thoughts. So when you do this, you catch insight of the nature phenomena. Now here's where it gets a little hippy dippy. The nature phenomena is how everything is not permanent. Nothing really has the identity that you think it is. All the objects are empty of an essential nature. It's a bunch of stuff. Don't worry about the end part of it. You just worry about the sitting part of it. If you do this long enough, you can look into some of these um, things and the end processes that you may be going to experience. And then when you let go of all the hindrances and your cravings, you can be liberated from suffering. So, kind of a little wordy, but we're not going to concentrate too much on that. So, some of the benefits. So, it has health benefits, psychological, your brain, your cardiovascular system. It reduces stress, anxiety, depression. For some people, if when you learn how to train your mind, it can even reduce pain that you feel in your body. And your mental benefits, just inner peace, well-being, makes your self-concept better, helps you perceive things in different ways, uh, works on improving your willpower, your attention span, stress management, impulse control, which I know teenagers have a hard time with controlling their impulses, and just general self-awareness. Science says meditation actually changes the structure of the brain. It rewires it into a different way of thinking. So, all meditation, no matter how different it is, usually has some universal concepts. So the first is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of purposely focusing your attention on the present moment and accepting it. You don't think it's good, you don't think it's bad, you are just present with what's going on right at this moment. So you want to be alert, but you want to be focused and relaxed. And you're deliberately paying attention to your thoughts and not judging them. So basically, you're paying attention to your breathing, your body, your emotions, but you're just letting it all go. You're letting it float in. You realize, hey, I have a thought, or this is my thought, or this is what my body's doing. And you just let it go. Focus back on your breath. Mindfulness is being in the present moment always. And then all mindfulness techniques are a form of meditation. Mindfulness is, like I said, is the big buzzword lately. So one of my personal experiences, the mindfulness bell, you can download an app and it'll ring that little Tibetan sounding bell. And whenever it'll just do it at random times. And whenever you hear it, stop what you're doing, look around, see everything right now in the present, right as it is. Check out the colors of, like right now, I check out the colors on my bookshelf and the way the shade hits a TV, and just be present of what you're doing right now, not living in the past, not thinking about the future. Second personal experience is when I practice mindfulness, is sometimes you need an activity, I do dishes. I turn off music and I practice just concentrating on what I'm doing. Like the feeling of the bowl in your hand, the feeling of the soap in your hand, how you're scrubbing, just do that as its own thing. Just concentrate on just doing dishes. Don't worry about what's coming up. Don't worry about what's in the future. You're just present in that moment doing that chore. Okay, so mindfulness is one thing that's common in all these things. Posture is another. So you're going to have different kind of postures, full lotus, half lotus. Um, you can do meditation sitting, lying, standing. There's basics that I'm going to have you do to kind of introduce yourself. Um, there's also walking meditation. You can do a simple task mindfully, which is what I just talked about with doing dishes or lying down. Here's your meditation positions: full lotus, half lotus, Burmese. So notice full lotus, both feet up on the thighs. I can't do that. Half lotus, one foot up on the thigh. Can't do that one either. My go-to is the Burmese, where you're just sitting cross-legged. You can do it on a stool, you can do it sitting sesa, or you can do it on a chair. My recommendation is going to be one of these top three, and I'll tell you why a little later. Here's a bunch of guys doing walking meditation. Notice, same step. They're very conscious about where they're stepping. They're conscious about where they're holding their hands. They're looking forward, not distracted by anything. The third thing that all meditation has in common is the breath. So to regulate your mind, you basically count breaths. So you inhale, and on your exhalation, you count 1. And you count up to 10 or however long until your mind is calmed. So you breathe from just below your navel. This is known as the hara. It is like the center of your body. You breathe from the lower abdomen, so your belly should expand forward slightly as you use your diaphragm muscle. Then 1. And then over time, your breathing just naturally becomes smoother, deeper, and slower. When you start counting and it becomes a hindrance, just follow your breath. And the fourth is something called mushin or mu, and that just means no mind. So no mind is a mental state. When you are a artist sometimes, or a martial artist, you try to get in this mental state. Basically, if you're trained martial artists, your mind is no mind. You're just reacting to whatever's happening around you. You don't have any preconceived notions of what you're going to do. We call this being in the zone. When you're playing basketball, you're sometimes just in the zone. You're not thinking about dribbling. You're not saying, hey, I'm dribbling right now. Now I'm going to shoot. You're just doing it because you practice it enough to it becomes natural. So your mind's free from anger. It's free from ego. There's an absence of thought and judgment. So you're just totally free to act and react. No hesitation, no disturbance. So now you're relying not on what you think should be your next move, but just what your natural reaction is. That is what's called no mind. However, you are not near sleepy or relaxed. You're just working at a very high speed, but you have no intention. You have no plan or direction. You are just taking what comes at you. Some people say it's the uselessness of techniques, and when you become truly free to move. This is a little board in my Aikido dojo in Fargo, and to signal class, one of the students will pick up this little hammer and knock on that board. That is the kanji, the Japanese writing for mushin or mu. So once that bell hits, you are in the present moment. You are trying to practice no mind, just going with the flow, reacting to what other people do without preconceived thought. Okay, so now that we've got the whole mental part of it, we're going to talk about the actual practice of zazen, which is at the heart of meditation. So zazen is simply just sitting. You're suspending all your thinking and letting everything that comes in your mind just pass by. Don't get involved with them. We all know we'll be sitting there thinking about something, and then I'll start thinking about my rent, and then I'll start thinking about that, and I won't be present in the moment anymore. So it's basically a way to learn how to take all the things that are in your head. You recognize them, you don't judge them, and you just let them go. So zazen posture, seated with your folded legs and hands, straight spine, and your hands are folded into a mudra, which we'll talk about in a second. You breathe from the center of your being, the hara. Your eyelids are half closed, so they're not all the way open or shut. So you're not distracted by what's going on around you, but you're not turning away from it either. The purpose is to be aware of what's going on, but just not let it affect you. Sitting fixedly, thinking of not thinking. Non-thinking is the art of zazen. I believe that is a Dogen quote. So again, Zen is kind of this mysterious thing. Lots of contradictions in Zen, so be prepared for that. So when we decide to actually practice, we'll get into that towards the end. So here's some examples. The one on the left is an Indian yogi. A yogi is someone that basically lives off of essentially nothing. So this guy probably lives on a beach in India where it's always nice, so he can not wear a shirt. And that's what they do with their days. They just have given up materialism and worldly things, and they just basically try to find inner peace by sitting zazen. This is in a more formal setting. This is a probably a Zen master, the leader of a Zendo. But notice he's got the full robes and everything. So just a different way. But this zazen, this is zazen, this posture right here is what it means to sit. You notice one of these guys in the back had his hands on his knees and the other one had his hands in his lap. So what we'll do is we'll do the hands in the lap, and it's called a mudra. And a mudra is basically where you put your position of your hands. So in this case, the right hand's underneath. Oops. Right hand should be underneath. Palms are up and the fingers are lightly touching. This is called the cosmic mudra, and it's basically like the universal starting point of hand positions. So when you see pictures of the positions, you'll see people with their hands like this. Now we're going to learn how to do it, getting down to practice. So traditionally, in Zen temples and monasteries, where basically people go to live just to practice Zen, they do it as a group in the hall, as we refer to the Zendo. The person doing meditation sits on a cushion, which is on top of a flat mat. The cushion and the mat both have names, Zafu and Zabuton. So before you take your seat, you give a little bow to the seat and a second bow to the people you're practicing with, if you are. If you're doing this a group of people, the leader will ding a little bell 3 times, and by the end of the 3rd ring, you should be sat in the positions you're going to sit in, and do not plan to move. You should not move even through discomfort. If you have to, just do really quietly and really slightly, but not moving is part of the meditation experience, which when you start to practice, you'll find out is a little difficult for some of you. And then if you do it for long amounts of time, you can do it with a little resting period of walking meditation. And we'll go over my suggestions at the end of how long you should do it and how often. So in a Zendo, which is a hall where formal meditation takes place, you can see all these guys. These guys have like a uniform with the robes, but you'll see the zabuton, which is the cushion, or I'm sorry, the blanket, and the zafu, which is the cushion that you sit on. Notice all these guys are sitting straight spines, head erect, their vision pointing about a 45-degree angle down, so they're neither distracted by nor concentrating on any physical thing. So if you decide to go join a Zen institution, you would be doing that with a group of other people. Your leader would come in, ding the bell, and by the 3rd ding, you are sitting in this spot until the ding comes, it ends it. Could be 20 minutes, half an hour. Some of these guys do this for days. So when you're preparing, you want the room to be quiet and relatively peaceful, trying to get disturbed. I know at home it's hard with brothers and sisters and such, but you don't want it too bright, too dark, too warm, too cold. Just nice. So here's an example of some home meditation spaces. This guy has person has the blanket with the cushion to sit on, and probably they would just face this wall. A little more exotic is these guys has an actual zafu, is what these look like, these big cushions right here, and they probably face this painting or this thing. That would be their object of meditation. Some people have little altars with a little Buddha statue or some incense or flowers. That's fine too. There's the cool thing about Zen is you don't have to do it one certain way. There's lots of ways you can do it. So your postures. So once you got your zafu on your zabuton, so you can do full lotus or half lotus. So basically you want a cushion to elevate your hips. And when you put your knees down, that'll put your knees firmly on the floor. So your legs kind of form a triangle with your hips up. Having your hips up kind of gets your spine straightened and the top of your head balancing kind of on the top of your spine. There's the half lotus, if you can get one foot up on your thigh. But basically, they tell you how to take your head and push it to the sky and push down the floor with your knees so you're sitting up nice and straight. They will be uncomfortable and unnatural for most beginners, which is also kind of the point of meditation, because mentally you have to ignore the stimulus of your body being uncomfortable and find a way to let that body sensation into your head, and then just let it go by concentrating on your breath. So basically just stay upright. Don't lean in any direction. I'm going to link a video in your Teams. It's going to show a little 5-minute presentation on what this should look like. But for right now, we get a picture of this guy. So notice he's sitting cross-legged, and he's got his knees anchored towards the floor. His butt and hips are up in the air, probably on a cushion, and his shoulders are relaxed. His hands are in the cosmic mudra, and his eyes are focused down, not closed, not open, probably not concentrating on any one thing, but also not avoiding external stimuluses. If you want to buy a Zafu or Zebudan, you can get these all over. You can get them as a thing. This is how this lady's using it. So you notice the cushion for your knees, basically the knees come down, and one for your butt. I use just a rolled up Afghan because I don't own one of these yet. They can get kind of spendy. These cushions usually filled with like buckwheat, I think, or something, but they're firm and not too giving, but not, terribly firm. Sometimes you can meditate what's called sesa. This is a traditional Japanese posture. When I was taking my Aikido class, when we were taking instruction from the teacher, we would sit like this until he called us up to practice. So notice these people's feet are tucked under their butt. If your ankles are not flexible, this is really hard to sit in for a while. But in Japan, this was the standard way, like the standard way of socially sitting. So based on ancient Japanese standards. So you're just sitting with the correct posture. Socially, like I said, Japanese people would use this. They would not participate in formal gatherings without practicing this. And, they use it for tea ceremonies, traditional Japanese things. If you watch any old Japanese movies, you'll see a lot of people sitting on tatami mats with the table that's really low to the ground, and this is how they would sit and eat. I would dare you guys to maybe try to sit like this, back on your heels for any amount of time. You'll know it's pretty rough on the ankles, but the more you do it, the more you get used to it. So you can actually meditate and sesa too. Your head and neck, stay as straight as possible. Pull your chin a little and try to push the sky over the top of your head, and just try to find that nice balance where your head's kind of bouncing on your spine. Your mouth is closed, your teeth are together, and your tongue should be just behind your teeth. That actually helps with drooling. Your eyes, again, should be open so you don't daydream, but you're not focusing on anything in particular. So just kind of in front of you, a little lower, your eyes kind of naturally come to rest in this position. I would suggest facing a wall in order to avoid distraction. There's kind of what the posture looks like. You see the spine, the eyes pointing down, you're breathing from here. You're sitting on your cushion with your knees anchored. Your hands and arms, there's your cosmic mudra again. Your right hand under your left. And then the tips of your thumbs slightly touching. Both of your wrists should be resting on your thighs. Hands against your belly, keep your shoulder relaxed. So this guy seems to hunch a little bit, but he probably does this all the time, so I'm not going to critique his zazen posture. This is probably his 80th hour sitting on the hillside meditating or whatever. So you're breathing. This is the fundamental part of this practice. So once you have your posture down, you're going to breathe quietly through your nose and keep your mouth closed, meaning you're going to inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose. You want a long, deep, natural rhythm. The important part is counting your breaths. Here's where it gets hard. Now, I was saying, well, it might not be hard. So when you breathe, I said you're just going to breathe in, pause, exhale, and mentally count 1. Keep going like that until if you reach 10. Like a game, however, here's the rule that you have to follow. If because of a random thought You even briefly forget which number you're on or hesitate, you must start over again at 1. Meaning, if I'm breathing and I'm just about to count 2 and I'm like, oh, look at, there's my picture sitting on my door. Oh, lost my train of thought, back to 1. I will tell you, the first time I did this, I rarely ever made it past 3. So if you can make it to 10, you can come back down. See if you can go all the way without making mistakes, without getting distracted, without dwelling on a thought you're having. Once you think about something and your mind goes, oh, I'm going to follow that thought, you've got to go back to 1. And you go back to 1 by concentrating on your breath. Anytime your mind wanders, concentrate on the breath coming in and out of your nose. So it is a strength building exercise for the mind. You are going to have tons of distracting thoughts. They're going to come in and out. The way you have to deal with them is keep your posture and count your breaths. So some Buddhist masters say if you can get back to 100, you will have developed such inner mental power, you'll be able to achieve anything. Not the point of this. And when you're breathing, the right state of mind naturally emerges. That mushin or mu is your mind not being blank, but being tranquil. So you have a deep concentration on your posture and your breathing. It is normal to have images and thoughts and emotions come roaring up. I had, a ton of them. We meditate in half-hour chunks. My brain was always telling me to do something, think of something else. And I always had to keep coming back to the breath and counting 1. There's a very famous Zen teacher that calls it monkey mind. Your monkey is running around in a cage and is trying to do all these things and you can't quiet it. And it is hard to quiet it. You're sitting there in kind of an uncomfortable posture, staring at a blank wall, trying to get your mind to be like calm water. And it is hard. That's why I tell you this is hard. Some of you right now are like, just driving you crazy. Just the thought of just doing nothing, not playing video games, not thinking about what you need to do next, not thinking about that girl or boy that you're thinking about, and just blanking your mind out. Okay? When you have these thoughts, don't pursue them. Don't go off on a tangent where you're thinking about it, or don't like fight to escape from it. Okay? The more attention you give them, the stronger your thoughts become. What you want to do is don't attach to them. Just let them go. It comes into your brain like, oh, I thought about this person. They made me mad. And just off it goes. Don't think, I want to get back at her or him and I want to do this. Then you've concentrated on that thought. You got to come back to your breath. Right? Some people have a thought come into their head like, oh, it's nice out. Oh, that's a neutral thought. And then let it go. Or, I hate this person. Oh, I've identified that thought as bad. I'm going to let it go. The whole point is to take that monkey mind and whatever that monkey's telling you to do, you have to let that go and come back to your breath. So as soon as you come aware you are interacting with your thoughts or clinging on to them, immediately bring back your concentration to your breathing and start over at 1. With time, this will become easier. If you're anything like me, when you first started, it will be impossible. And then, like I said, with experience, your mind will come to rest more easily, more quickly. There's a little quote on the monkey mind. So, I've told you a little bit about my personal experiences. I did sesshin, which is an all-day meditation, 12 hours, half-hour chunks with 5 minutes in between. Um, my brain was all over the place. My body was all over the place. I not only had to clear my mind, I had to blot out the pain that my body was experiencing because my bones are old and it was hard to sit in that position for very long. But my mind came out strengthened. I did that twice. Once, I think I did it once a year. And I asked my teacher, and I said, am I ready for this? And all he said was, well, you'll find out about yourself. And I did. So that's my personal experience with it. If you want to know any more about it, I can tell you stories, but this video has probably already gone on long enough. Although I don't feel too bad because there's only one video I have to watch this month. Anyway, so beginning, we're going to start. You're going to face the wall, put your cushion and your blanket down so you're just a little bit away from it. Take the position, take a few deep breaths, balance your body, kind of sway it a couple times, give a little bow, put your hands in the cosmic mudra, and just sit. Now, I would recommend using a timer. Those little bell timers, they don't really recommend when you're coming out of meditation to, come out of it to heavy metal music or a beeping sound. Get some nice soft sound. There's meditation timers and bell timers you can find as apps. There's a couple some guy recommended down at the beginning. So once you're seated in your position, take a couple breaths and then you just stay there. And in that position, holding that position, concentrating your breaths and trying to calm your monkey mind. So that's the end of this presentation. But what I want for you guys is I want you to try this. You can do it for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. They always say in the morning is the best time to do it. I don't like getting up because I feel like I just want to fall asleep. But please try this. To some of you, it may sound silly and dumb, but it's actually much harder than it works. And from personal experience, it does have benefits. It's a really good way to train your mind because a lot of our monkey minds give us trouble. So I want you to attempt this over the next month in addition to your whatever at-home workouts you're doing. Just try it 15, 20 minutes a day, whenever you can do it. And probably in the future, I'll ask you for a reaction. So try to do it on a regular basis. Daily would be cool, 3 times a week. Some of you want to push yourself, do it for half an hour, do it for an hour. If you do it for an hour, you will really find out about yourself. So I hope this gives you a little something to practice over your break. And I honestly, I think it'll do you some good. So your only other video that you'll be required to watch from me is um, your yoga video. So to show me that you watch this video, um, comment your name and your favorite sport or your favorite workout or something. Just give me your name so I know that you saw it. I know the video went a little long. I'm going to stop talking. Hopefully this did you some good. Any questions, you just email me, call me, whatever you need. Um, all right. I hope you guys are well and still working out. I will see you guys when I see you. Seniors, see ya.